Hello, how's it going, everybody? My name is Ryan, aka Blackbeard TCG, and today I have a very special guest in the building. Shout outs and introduce yourself, RJ Jacinto. Did I pronounce that correctly? Jacinto?
It's Jacinto.
Ah,
Jacinto.
Jacinto. Close. Ah, that was
It's
close.
somewhat a Spanish surname.
How's it going, RJ?
Very good. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And of course, I would love to connect with you guys in the western part of the world.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys don't know, all the links will be down in the description. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out his channel. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. If you guys want to see a lot of gameplay for Sakazuki, you have enough in spades to watch on RJ's channel. And so we're going to talk about Sakazuki as we go through this video, as we go through this podcast. We have a little bit of talking points. But before we get into all that, RJ, why don't you introduce yourself? I know obviously
Yep.
not only do you just play One Piece, but you've been playing card games in general and other games
Yes.
before that as well, right?
Yes, yes. So I'm RJ, a One Piece card game competitive player and a content creator as well. You can find me on YouTube. Just search for RJ Jacinto One Piece, and hopefully the algorithm points you to my channel. So as you mentioned, I played a lot of card game. So my first card game is Magic the Gathering,
Nice,
and then
nice.
I switched to Hearthstone, of course, because I've been working in the esports industry for more than a decade now. So when
Nice.
card game esports existed, of course, is auto jump in into
Right.
that game, and then I switched back to competitive Magic, and then the pandemic hits. So me and Wizard got this love-hate relationship going on because they banned my decks, two decks.
Oh,
So
no.
then after somewhat, I think the middle of 2021 it was the launch of OP-02 here that I discovered that One Piece had a card game, and I'm a very big One Piece fan.
hmm
I've been reading the manga for years now, and then watching the anime. And of course, when I saw it, I immediately jumped into it. Just
Nice.
sadly, before just it was just sad that it took me months to get into the game because of the initial issue problems that we had back in the start of OP-02. Uh,
Oh, in terms of like
it took
card supply or...
yeah the card supply. You
Hmm.
cannot find anything. Like
Right.
it's super hard. Like a case before the
hmm
normal price of a case for OP-02 is around 26,000 pesos. I'm not sure, right around $400 I would
hmm
say, or 500.
hmm
Then due to the lack of supply, it costs around 1,500 for me to get into the game. So
Wow.
I have to wait. There's a shortage supply. Well, the story there was that Bandai didn't underestimated the power of One
One
Piece
Piece.
IP.
Yeah, yeah.
So they didn't really printed anything, and then based on like the stories that I heard, they have to stop the production of Digimon just to cope up with the supply of One Piece, and that's the time that it's stabilized, and then I managed to get into the game. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So, I'm very glad you were able to get in the game. And over
Yep.
here in the West, it was very
Mhm.
similar. Even though obviously you guys had the game about like 6 months or so ahead of us, and they could see the
Yes.
demand. I guess they didn't know it
Yeah.
was going to be popular over here too. And so here,
Mm.
at least where I am here in Canada, boxes usually go for, so not
Mhm.
even just a case, just a regular box, usually goes
Mhm.
for about, I would say if I was to convert it to like USD, it's about like
Mhm.
100 USD Canadian. It's like
Wow.
130-ish. Yeah. But our boxes is like two of like the Asia boxes together, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's times two of the contents. I'm not sure about the distribution, but
Right. Yeah, in terms of the
I would
ratios.
say
Yeah.
almost the same, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for OP-02, as you said, how it was like sold out everywhere, impossible to get the cards. Same
Yeah, it
thing
was super
here.
impossible.
And the boxes at the time were not going for 140 as they used to. They were going for almost 350 for one
Wow.
box. Could you
Wow.
imagine
Wow.
that? Like,
Yeah,
but now
it's
look.
super expensive, right? Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
so cheap.
Yeah, well, at least it's stabilized. It's good for players, right? That they can
Yes.
jump into the game easier.
Yes. I completely agree. I 100% agree. And so I guess if we, before we get into the meat and potatoes of OP-05, obviously
Mhm.
OP-06 has just been released for you. And how has it
Yeah.
been getting your hands on OP-06? I'm assuming now distribution is all good. If you wanted to go pick up a box right
Yeah.
now, you could?
Yeah, actually, it's way easier to get boxes and products right now in
Mm-hmm.
OP-06 than OP-05.
Oh, okay.
Because before, during the launch of OP-05, there's also a shortage, mainly because of the contents of OP-05, because that's an anniversary set, right?
Right.
So during the pre-order of OP-05, I'm not sure if it's the same here, but
Mm-hmm.
in here in Asia, when pre-orders were taken,
Mm-hmm.
there's no info of whatever the content of the set is. You just know that it's OP-05. Here's the theme. Actually, the theme was not yet announced then.
Oh,
Then
so you have to kind of
then the
do it
LG.
blind. Oh,
Yes, it's always like that here. So it's
okay.
either you buy in blind or you wait for the regular release.
Right.
So I didn't get a PO. Uh, then when it was announced that these cards, the big cards like the Luffy Anniversary, Signed
Mm-hmm.
Oda, this SPs, uh, when they were or the three mangas,
Yeah.
when they were announced, people started to take orders, but not on PO, but they are actually paying people to basically take their PO slots.
Oh, so
So
people are
that,
selling their pre-o slots.
yes,
Wow.
and then a big YouTuber picked up the game.
Hmm.
They it's a funny coincidence. It's not planted, but
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I think 11 million subscribers on YouTube. He's one
Holy
of the
shit.
biggest. I mean, I would say top one, top two YouTuber here in the Philippines.
Okay.
He picked up the game. He picked up. He bought a case of OP-02
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only thing available here before.
Right.
And then he opened it in a live stream, and then he pulled a manga ace.
Oh
So he was,
shit. So
yeah,
everybody
he
probably
was
was
like,
like, "Oh, I need to go buy one."
yes. So everybody, and then of course they highlighted the price of the card. So here we bought we bought this box or this case for like 26,000 pesos, and
Mm.
we pulled 70,000 pesos. So we made times three of our money, and then that started the hype of
Mm.
OP-05 because there's three mangas, higher chance, so everybody
Right.
wants to pull any manga, and then actually it's super hype that we content creators also somewhat benefited from it because that's the first time that a video of mine managed to hit like 250K views, something like that for
Whew.
an OP card game. Sorry.
Jeez.
Yeah. So because he's a big YouTuber, so everybody maybe algorithm of the platforms
Right.
showing us, right?
Recommended.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so super crazy days. Now, OP-06, somewhat the hype died down, I would say. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but not as hype as OP-05.
Hmm.
So it's easier now. Super easier now.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'm glad that that's the case, and wow, that's crazy. How like yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it's like I highly doubt like it would be like a plant type situation.
Yeah,
But
they can't. They can't.
yeah,
It's a live
live
opening of packs.
exactly. Like if it was
Yeah.
just a regular YouTube video, then yeah, sure. But if it's live
Yeah.
stream, then there's no
Yeah.
way for them to like,
True.
because like especially like how it is right now with like packs and stuff like that. Although now it could change, and I think it was you that
Mhm.
made the tweet about how now that there's the God packs in OPO6, technically people
Mhm.
can like weigh to
Yes.
see,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so at least in OPO5, technically you couldn't do that either. So that's how you know for sure it
Yeah.
wasn't like planted, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that there was a time where
mhm.
people thought that you can weigh packs, right?
Mhm.
And we tried it before.
Mhm.
And there's because in Magic you can do that.
Right,
In
exactly.
MTG you can
Exactly.
do that. So I think it was done by Magic players at first, and then we tried it in OP,
Mhm.
and there's really no difference. But given that you are putting up, I think, six foil cards
Mhm.
in a single pack, I think that would make the difference in terms of weight.
Yes. Yeah, I would 100% agree. And so I hope that, going forward, it doesn't become an issue. I don't know if
Yeah.
God packs are going to be a consistent thing going forward. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, right? Because it seems like every set they just kind of sneak in some new
Yeah.
things. Before we were only getting one
True.
manga, then we got 3 mangas, then we got
3.
the SP
And
cards, then we got,
even the first God pack was, we don't know, right? If
yeah,
it's real or not.
right.
The first God pack was pulled. People are speculating that is it
It was
real?
fake,
Is it, yeah?
right,
Was it planted? Because, well, it was the way that it was presented. I mean,
right.
the God pack was already opened when
Mm-hmm.
it was posted in public. There's
Yep.
no video of it being opened before. And then when it became viral, that's the time they released the version of the video that
Yeah.
they are opening a sealed pack and it contains all the leaders. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
And there
guess we'll
was no
see.
announcement about it, right?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
official announcement about it.
And I guess, you know what? I guess it's actually a good idea in hindsight that there was no official announcement because it did
Yeah.
make it really hype, right?
Yes, yes, true.
So,
I agree.
but yeah, with that being said, since we're on the topic of OPO6, real quick, I know it's super early days, but I
Yes.
guess let's start off. OPO6, are you still playing
Hmm.
Sakaluchi or have you dabbled in some of the other leaders?
I dabbled into some other leaders. I tried Moria,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried Yamato. So green
Nice.
yellow Yamato is super strong. I
Mm.
think that I mean the data shows as well that it is the most used leader right now in Japanese tournaments
I seen
because
that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's super broken. The double damage, how they play it right now is like I'm gonna go all in, and then the cards that I'm playing will just be to make sure that my damage takes you're gonna take my damage. So for
Mm.
example, you have a blocker. The only 3 dons that they're gonna use is for Okiku to rest your blocker, and then
Right.
they'll just gonna go all in,
Right,
and
right.
that favors the deck because of the mechanics of the game, wherein you have to discard to
For
guard
counter. Yeah.
to counter the attacks. And if you're unlucky to have no 2k counters or not enough counters, you're gonna take the hit of 2 damage every turn. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure. And then I'm just
yeah,
thinking, obviously, with yellow and green having the capabilities to rest those blockers, as you already mentioned,
yes,
there's Okiku, there's Ezo, green Ezo, there's the
yes,
yellow 200 million volts that will give plus
yes,
3,000, and then you can
Amaru,
also
yeah,
rest, right? So it's like,
yes,
whew. And then the new Nami,
yeah,
right? The Wano
yes, the
Nami.
Onami. Actually, that's one of my games. I lost against that.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah, I was so surprised that like he has 5 don.
Hmm.
He played Onami for 2 dons and then go for 8. And Sakazukis are known to have very little counters, so I don't have
Right.
enough counters during that time. And then take 2 damage easily, and there's no triggers, or
Right.
my
Cause
those cards
banish.
doesn't even go into my hand, right? So
Yeah.
very very cruel matchup. Actually,
Dang.
that's the worst matchup now of Sakazuki, I would say.
And I guess a lot of people are probably going to want to pick it up because after seeing Sakazuki dominate so much in OP-05, people are like, oh, this is the counter.
Yeah,
And so we'll see a lot of that.
yeah,
And then I wonder if people are
it's
going
a
to try
very
to
hard
figure out
counter.
what counters Yamato, right?
Yeah, so it's a triangle right now
Hmm.
because Moria counters Yamato hard, and
Hmm.
then Sakazuki wins against Moria, and then Yamato wins against Sakazuki.
Right,
So it's
right.
the triangle right now.
Yeah. Kind of like how it was last set, really, right? Like with NL,
Yeah,
Luffy, and Sakazuki almost, right?
yeah. P. Luffy wins against NL. NL wins against Sakazuki. Sakazuki wins against P. Luffy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know some people are like, they're not a big fan of that, but like, I don't know. For me, I kind of do like that because it's not like it's okay, to be fair, at least I'm not the best player. I'll be the first one to say that. But like, at least if I'm playing Enel and I'm going up against Purple Luffy, that's probably one of the most rough matchups. Like I could say, like it's
yeah.
very hard to win, especially if you get like
True,
Magellan back to back. But I would like to
true.
say that like you can almost like I don't feel like every matchup is like a 9-1 matchup in favor of another deck unless if it's Purple Luffy Enel I could see it, but I feel like
Yeah,
I've seen Sakazuki's be able to beat Enels be able to
NL,
beat
yeah.
Purple Luffy. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah, funny thing that you mentioned that because I when I won my first flagship with Sakazuki,
Hmm.
I really tweaked the deck to counter NL. So I have that single Luffy in that deck where so that
Oh,
because
right.
NLSR is the I would say the key card on that matchup. If
Correct.
he plays NLSR on curve, you will have a rough time. So what I do is mulligan for that single copy of Luffy
Mm.
and then play it. So I use the ST08 Luffy, the 3 cost vanilla,
Yep. Yep.
so that it also has enough power to attack NL,
Right. That's actually
and then
so
you just
smart.
guard it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
actually so
yeah,
smart.
things.
Yeah, because like, because for me again, like if I'm going up against Sakazuki, I'm like, yeah, I just need to see my Enel, because then they have to invest so much to get it off the board, right?
Yeah.
Whether they have to double Hound Blaze or do some like Lucci plus Hound Blaze shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I guess as we transition, oh well, I guess just to give my opinions on OP-06, very early. I've only
Mhm.
played a couple of matches. I dabbled in some Perona. Perona is
Mm.
pretty fun actually.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fun.
yeah, like at first I was like, oh, like, resting 4 costs or less or like -1. I'm like, it doesn't seem that good. But then I was like, oh, like there's actually a lot of things that you could do. And then of course, obviously,
Yeah,
with all of the, like the blockers these days,
it's true.
like Rebecca and stuff like that. So it's very easy to do with those. It's just a fun deck to pilot. But I do agree. I did dabble in Yamato. That deck seems really insane.
Yes, it is insane.
So it's early. It's still early. But one thing
Yeah.
I will say is Gecko Moria. I haven't played yet, but I faced it,
Mm.
and that seems like a deck that will definitely take skill. It seems like there's many different lines of play, but it seems very
Yes.
rewarding if you could play it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, true. Actually, I think all of the decks that has some sort of combo
Hmm.
requires a certain, I would say, learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have mastered or you have remembered all the combo lines, it will be very rewarding. It's sort of like the early Sakazuki,
True.
and
True.
then Moria right now as well. So and also Perona. Actually, Perona is is a very good deck. Actually, during the proxy war, we have a program in our local game store
Mm-hmm.
wherein they allowed us to do proxies and then
Oh,
play for
nice.
some packs.
Yeah.
It was my deck of choice, Perona.
Oh,
So my build
nice.
was has 10 Koskusan so that you can basically rest a 9 Kos when he's on the board. And then you can
Oh.
kill it with either the Ryoma or
Yep.
the X-Drake. So basically
Okay.
once you have Kusan on the board,
Mm-hmm.
there's no cards that can basically survive you.
Yeah, that's so
Because
true.
you also have Garp. I also play Garp, so you like, for example, you play a 10 cost, I'll use the second ability of Perona to reduce the cost of one, and then static ability of Kusan, and then you play Garp, use Garp's ability, and you're gone.
Yeah, you
For
could
just
pop
one
anything.
card, you are already gone
Yeah.
for 10 cost, yeah. So it's a good deck, but due to the existence of Moria, the funny thing is that Japanese people already sold Moria.
Oh, really?
Eh, Yeah, I've been researching some decks,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw this. I think 3 or 4 Moria players who won early tournaments in Japan, and then when you look at the deck list,
Yeah.
there's like 3 cards only that's different from those. They have the same base cards and same core
Wow.
cards, but just 3 tech cards that differs. I
And
think I saw some Sindri versus Helmepo versus Kuzan 4.
yeah, I
That's the
seen
only
some
cards that
Helmeppo.
were
Yeah, I did see some
yeah,
Helmeppo. That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah. Because
so
Helmepo is very good because you can pick it up with Moria, the character. So that's additional minus
oh,
two.
right. Yes. That is
Yeah,
true.
as or -3 or -2.
I think it's -3, right? It's the one where on play.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is true.
yes.
-3. That's huge, actually.
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Wow. And so those three different lists, were they like people from like the same area, or were they from different
No,
areas? Wow. So
different
that makes it
areas.
even
Yeah,
more special because like for the fact that like they weren't even like in the same like play group,
yeah.
so to speak,
Play
right?
group. Yeah,
And they
yeah.
have the
True.
same like whether you say it's like the same like 45 cards, if so, or whatever,
Yeah.
that's still like wow.
Yes,
Interesting. So
actually,
quickly.
actually, that's the very first thing that I check if they're from the same group. But
Right.
I'm not sure. But this one, for example, this one won in this city. This one
Right.
won in this city, and then
So
in
unless they're
that city.
traveling cities, just
Yes,
which I doubt.
unless they talk that, hey, I'll go to this city, and you
Yeah.
go to this city, and I go to the city. But yeah, it's very interesting for them to figure out the meta this early.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess with that being said, we'll transition over to OP-05 since obviously you have a lot of experience with that. We're going to be getting
Yes.
OP-05 in a week's time. We talked about
Wow.
Sakazuki. Yeah, and so
Yes.
in terms of the meta, I just want to kind of talk about the meta evolution, right? Because like in the beginning,
Sure.
a lot of people were playing Enel. Then people started to switch
Yes.
to Purple Luffy to beat the Enel, and then people switched to Sakazuki, which
Yes.
seems to just be able to have a pretty decent matchup against everything across
Mhm.
the board. So talk to me
Yeah.
about that meta evolution and
Oh,
actually
sure.
playing in it in real time.
Yeah, sure. So, it started during the previous season where they are leaking the leaders, right?
Hmm.
We already know that P. Luffy will be broken. I mean, the mechanics of the game really favors P. Luffy. You get ramp, you get
Hmm.
basically an access to an extra card every turn,
Hmm.
so extra resources. So we already know that he will be, if not the best deck, he will be a top tier deck. So,
Right.
and then NL when it was leaked, uh, we also saw that the leader's ability is somewhat broken because you don't need to really discard a card to gain that life. As long as you hit zero, if you don't have any card in your hand, you will still get the heal. So we
Yes.
were like, that's so broken because that's basically an additional uh, life, and then you really have to manage your attacks that he will take a hit,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
that will mean that you have to deal extra damage, and then if he can counter, you basically have him another go because they can use Yamato to heal, and then you're gonna go back to square one,
Yep.
trying to do lethal with the Enel.
Yep.
So those were the standouts when the leaks were made, and then um, we were testing it, and Enel, as I think a lot of people doesn't know that my first OP-05 deck was Enel. It's mainly due to the fact that Enel's early builds just uses the Big Mom core. So you just have to get your Katakuri deck, take out the four Big Moms, replace it with Yamato, and you have an Enel deck. So that's it.
Hmm.
And I think both decks, that's the initial, I would say, review from our group
Hmm.
because they only require very few OP-05 cards. So I would say that it added to the meta pick that you don't require a lot of new cards to build those two decks. So again, for NL, you just get your Katakuri deck, replace the Big Mom to Yamato, you have it. And then for Pilufi,
Hmm.
get your big vanillas. That's the build first, the initial builds. You get the big vanillas, you get the Fukushimas, you get the Babanukis,
Babanuki. Yep.
and then just yeah and then just grab a full set of SR Kid 5,
Yep.
and then you have your and then you have your Pilufi. So I think that made those decks the meta decks very early on because it's very easy to build.
Hmm.
And then of course people look into the counter for Pilufi, and they come up with Sakazuki. So before the build for Sakazuki was the bigs, and then they saw that it really crumbles against Enel. And actually, Sakazuki is nowhere near the top during the early days of OP-05.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Up, yeah. You would see old tier list where they play Sakazuki around tier 2, tier 1.5, but they never put it in tier 1
Mm-hmm.
until a genius Japanese player managed to figure out Sakaluchi. So Sakaluchi actually became a really hot topic in the Japanese scene
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people are claiming to be the one who created the list because it's so meta changing that
Right.
people, of course, it's basically your road to stardom, if I may.
Yeah, I see what you're
Uh,
saying. Yeah, because it's like,
then
because like you
yeah,
shaped the entire metagame for that
yes,
whole set.
and
Yeah.
then somebody called the build and named it after himself. Then people called him out because there's this old list that uh, they're very nitpicking the details to make sure that they stick the name to it.
Mm.
Like for example, it became a topic of who put the first Branus into this build. They're the one who created that, or now this build has Branus but it doesn't have the big, so this is my build, something like that.
Ah,
They're doing. I
right.
mean, and then people, I think, got tired of the drama that they decided, oh, let's just name it Sakaluchi, and then whoever created that list. Because I saw a list in OP-05 super way early that uses Branu.
Yes, I remember that again. A lot of the stuff for Sakazuki I seen coming from you first. I remember you talking about brand new really early on. This was way before people were
Yes.
playing brand new, and a lot of people were still playing like the stage Marineford and stuff like that at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the idea for that was, of course, we were trying to again in a solved meta,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
what will matter most is how you put your tech cards. For example, I think I mentioned to you that I in my first flagship win, I tech a Luffy card into
Right,
my deck because I know that my meta is full of yellow players.
right.
So even Katakuri back then uses NL, so I play a Luffy in my deck, and nobody uses it in the other decks because
Mm-hmm.
that's basically my tech card for my own local meta. So I'm looking into tweaking my deck as well back then, and then it came up that Branu can easily fill the trash because you trash the two cards, so it has easier access um,
Lucci.
to Lucci. And even before, there are decks that doesn't use Great Eruption.
Right.
And now
Yes, that's
it
true.
became a staple of and now it became a staple of Sakazuki because also again Great Eruption goes into the trash.
Mm-hmm.
So people discovered the right builds as based on what their needs
Yeah, yeah.
because
That.
you yeah, I think that's one of the good thing in OP
Mm-hmm.
wherein you can of course net deck a deck, but you you can tweak it as your own based on the tech cards that you put in.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's one of the things that I do like with this game too is a lot of people, unless of course, there's a big
Mhm.
like championship and stuff like that. Of course, I understand people
Mm,
not wanting to share their builds, but a lot of people are
sure.
completely open with sharing their deck list because at the end of the day, like even
Mhm.
if you have the deck list, you can't
Yeah.
necessarily pilot it the same way as somebody else would, and you don't really
Yes.
understand why they might have put that tech card in for those specific
Yeah.
situations as well, right? So,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Actually, I'm glad that you brought it up because I was being somewhat trash trash talk in my YouTube channel
What
whenever
happened?
I come up with a build and then I don't reveal it
Uh,
on those videos. It's because there's a big tournament coming up, and also at first I just don't do it. I mean,
right.
I just do it like release the deck list. But then I experienced one time that I was playing in a big tournament
Mm-hmm.
and then my opponent come up and then he was saying, "Ah, I saw in your video that you have this and that and okay, so I'm gonna play
Oh,
this." And I'm like, "Oh shoot, he knows my tech cards." And then he managed to play
right.
around it. And I have the tech card in my hand. So I'm
Yeah,
like, shoot, I should have not released that video as early as now,
right.
as early as yesterday. And so I stopped doing that. And then people were like, I remember a comment that says, "I just love gatekeeping." That's why I don't release my deck list. And they don't
Wow, somebody said
understand
that?
that. Yeah, somebody said that on one of my videos. I'm like, bro, you just don't understand the amount of time we put into
Right.
like the deck only for it to be used against us.
Yeah,
Just wait for a day after this tournament finish and I will release it. Just wait for it.
exactly.
So yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's such a blessing and a curse because like I just said how like I do like that like a lot of people share their deck lists and
Mhm,
things like that. But then
mhm.
the one thing that I don't like is when like you will post a video or like say if somebody like posts something on social media and the first thing somebody says is what's a deck list? What's a deck list? What's that? Like not even like a
True, true.
congratulations or nice, good job, man. It's just like deck list, deck list. It's just like
Yeah,
oh my
necklace,
gosh,
please.
bro.
Yeah.
I'm
But yeah,
sure like that gets
I mean,
tiring for you too, right?
I do understand. Maybe I myself was like that in Magic. I would say uh, I'm not good enough in Magic to come up with my own deck list.
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to change here in One Piece. Now
Right.
I'm coming up with my own deck list and testing it out because back then I don't have a play group that as competitive as me. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have this I can't really test out my ideas. But here in One Piece I have a very good play group in our local game store that I can bounce ideas off. They are willing to play test. There's no gatekeeping. Oh, you're using proxy cards. They're very
Right.
open. I mean, we have a program that has proxy cards, and you will win official packs.
Yeah, that's
So it's an
amazing.
official tournament, yeah. So we can test it out. So I think that's also helped us be more creative in our builds because without those people, I won't have time or experience to have the confidence to show my build into my videos because what I can just come up with a random deck list and then create a video and hope that I win.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but my process is I will try it in my store.
hmm
Then if I win, I will try it on sim. And if I win 5 straight wins in the simulator with it,
hmm
that's the time I release the video. Because I'm now confident that if people ask me how to play this, why did you put this, what's the reasoning behind this, or how do you play, or basically how do you pilot the deck, I
Right.
can confidently answer them.
Yeah, and I think that that's also something that people should realize as well is, you know, as content creators, we also don't want to just put out anything or
True.
like anything bad because like it's kind of like our reputation as well, right? So
True, true.
yeah, so I completely like empathize with you on that and completely understand where you're coming from because like yeah, sometimes it is a little bit tough, right? So
Yeah,
um
true.
but yeah, so that was a great explanation by the way. Thank you so much talking about
Thank you,
the
thank you.
progression from Enel to Luffy to Sakazuki and everything in between. So now let's talk about Sakazuki's rise. Do you believe that Sakazuki is indeed tier 0 in OP-05?
Yes, Saka. I think we have to differentiate that one.
Hmm.
Sakazuki before the Sakaluchi is not tier zero, but
Right.
when Sakaluchi was released, it is tier zero. Sakaluchi, that variant is the one that is tier zero. The
Hmm.
Sakazuki itself, the big ones, the big boys version, not. Uh, and I would also believe that if you're gonna ask me, like it will be a tier zero in the West, with how the West love the red decks,
hmm
definitely it's gonna be a tier zero.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I would say I hope this won't come out differently, but if it dominated the East, definitely it will dominate the West.
Yes. I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. And yeah, for whatever reason, us here in the West, we love, not me, I actually don't have that much fun playing the red decks, but I know a lot of people that love playing
Yeah,
the Zoros of the
the red
world,
deck,
the
yeah,
Whitebeards of the world, right? Like, no
the
matter
loss,
what. Have you
yeah,
seen the
true.
Whitebeard builds that people were running towards the end of OP-05, like playing more of like a
The
straw,
Strawbeard,
yeah,
yeah,
Strawbeard engine? What are your thoughts on
yeah.
that?
Actually, I played that variant before.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
back in, I think, was it OP-03? What I think OP-03, I played a little bit of Whitebeard,
Mm-hmm.
the normal one, and then someone came up in my local meta, brought Strawbeard, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I have the pieces, so I also built that and played. I think I also have some videos of it on my channel, but it was super super old. And yeah, that build for me, it's good in a way that you have the element of surprise.
Right.
Because when for example, if I'm playing Sakazuki and I fought a Whitebeard, my mulligan against a normal Whitebeard will be very different than the mulligan with uh a normal or the Strawbeard. Because for
Right.
example, if I'm facing Whitebeard, if I get Ice Age on my hand, I will keep it. If you're facing Strawbeard, Ice Age is dead card because
Right.
the biggest card there would, I would say, what, Ace
Yeah.
7 cost,
A7 cost. Yeah.
which is which is easily answerable by the trash loop, the Rebecca to Hina to Lucci.
Yep.
But if you are facing Whitebeard 9, it's a different story because you have to add more cards there to reach Whitebeard 9.
Right.
So those are the things that would take an opponent like myself. I don't know that you're placing that variant or you are playing that variant, that would be the intricate details that I might miss or would that you can use against me because I'm keeping a dead card in my hand, hoping that you are normal white beer build. So you have the element of surprise there. It's very good unless your opponent knows you that you're playing that variant because white beard, straw beard is somewhat easy to answer. You
Right.
just
Yeah,
be
that's true.
defensive at the
Yep.
early start until you run out until they run out of gas because Whitebeard normal plays differently than Strawbeard because usually the normal white beers are more defensive. They go to the bigs and then they hoard the cards so that in the final life they can counter all those
Yep.
stuff. While in Strawbeard, they keep pressuring you until you cave in and then you take a lot of hits. So very different play styles, but also have very different approach if you're the opponent. So if you manage to surprise your opponent, you will definitely have an easier game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment, and I feel like the reason why I asked and I wanted to bring it up is because I do
Hmm.
believe that again we just talked about it here in the West. People love the red decks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see people still playing the Strawbeard despite us having all these new tools in our arsenal. But
Actually, actually, there are white beards who won flagships here in
yeah,
Japan
I seen that. Yeah, yeah,
with Strawbeard. They
yeah.
just added some white beard cards there. Like I think Marco 4, Marco 5, they have added there. And then they do again. I think it's really more on the element of surprise
Hmm.
that they don't people don't know what you're running, so they don't know how to counter you. And most people somewhat forgot Whitebeard already.
Yeah, because they're so used to facing all the other decks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So I guess the next thing that I want to talk about then is
Mhm,
obviously we talked about Sakazuki dominant or
mhm,
Sakaluchi specifically, that variant
mhm.
being tier 0. Now, again, the West is notorious for our
Yeah,
restricted and ban lists.
true, true.
So do
That's
you
very true.
think, in your opinion, if we start seeing Sakaluchi dominating the metagame over here in the
Hmm.
West, kind of like how it did in the East, do you think that
Hmm.
we could potentially see a hit? And if something was to be hit, what would
Hmm.
that card be?
Uh, One is it's very hard to assess because one, the initial banning, the Whitebeard banning
Hmm.
will leave an impression to the players. Like
Yes.
definitely there's an impression there. So
Yes.
I'm not sure, knowing that for example, if I'm a player, I know this deck will be good, but I also know that down the line, Bandai will just ban me. We can easily ban this deck. Will I take the risk to play a good
Right.
deck that can be banned? So I'm not sure if West will flock into Sakazuki because there's this lingering fear definitely to those people that has doesn't have enough money to build a second deck if this first deck is banned.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lingering fear there that this deck might get banned. So they might stay away from it. But definitely, if people, like for example, if we take out the idea that it will get banned, I think Sakaluchi will still also be the top deck in the West. But just that that notion of it getting banned once it is overrepresented might might dissuade people from using that deck. Uh, and if so, and to answer your other question, that if it's gonna get a hit, what will be the hit?
Mm-hmm.
There's two cards that I think will hit. This is also my idea on how to somewhat balance those cards.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's gonna be Rebecca. That's gonna be main hit.
I agree.
That will be the main card to be hit. I think for Rebecca to work, to balance Rebecca, this might not somewhat I know this will somewhat kill the Sakaluchi, but Rebecca should have a leader restriction.
Ah,
I
so
think that
only a
it's either
Dressrosa.
gonna be Dressrosa, yeah, because the recurrence, because Rebecca's ability is so OP that your trash becomes also your resource. That's her.
Yes.
That's makes her broken in my opinion.
Yeah, I
And
completely agree.
then
Especially in a game where they like that essentially at this point in OP-05, obviously there's
yeah,
some new decks in OP-06, but in OP-05, that's really the only deck that does have access to really using
yes,
trash as resource as well, right?
yes. Actually, there's also another idea that I have, but
Mm.
uh, I think it Rebecca won't be usable as much if if it is adjusted. Uh, you can take out the free play ability. You can get the trash. You can get
Ah, I see
a
what you're
card in
saying.
the trash, but you can play a 3 cost for free. Because
Right.
that's also the part where that's why it's strong with Sakaluchi, because you have access to Hina that reduces the cost, a big reduction, 4 cost reduction. So
Mm-hmm.
so Lucci can easily reach a 7 cost because you have also the leader ability.
Right.
So that's so if you take out the free play, the free play of a 3 cost or below, you take out the Hina combo, and that will help at least balance it out, because by that time you cannot use Lucci. But now that there's Amano Murakumo, I'm not sure if that's because you can just play Hina. Okay,
Right.
you get right. So that's just 7 Don, and then you use 2 Don for the Amano Murakumo, the event. So because back before in OP-05 you just have 8 Dons. Sorry, you just use 8 Dons to do the combo.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take out the free play, you will now be required to play 11 Dons to do that. So you have to adjust your combo. So that's somewhat easier or fair, I would say. I think that's the main problem there, the free play as well.
Yeah, and so because I was thinking, because I always wonder, I'm like, I wonder if they ever will do erratas, like card erratas, because we
Hmm.
haven't seen it thus far. Of course, anything could happen, because I feel
Yeah.
like if they were to do it, then like I feel like during the whole arc of like Zoro and Law being so
Hmm.
strong, I feel like maybe that's when they would have maybe made it to like Radical Beam,
Yeah.
would like they would maybe like make that Straw Hat only, for example, or like change Zoro's
Yeah,
ability so it's Straw Hat
remember the
only,
Zoro,
right?
right? The
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the, the people's clamor on Zoro that it should only buff Straw Hat characters. Some
Right.
yeah,
And I
but I
think
don't
that that
think
would
they
be a
will.
fair, yeah, exactly. I don't think they would errata. I feel
I
like it'd
think
be too difficult, right?
I think the logistics nightmare of an errata card would be
Too much.
more detrimental to the game than just straight up ban the card.
I
Because
agree.
imagine if there are new people. playing, you're onboarding new players and they play those cards only to find out that when they use it in a tournament or something that, oh, this is already errated. Oh, I didn't know that it was already errated. So
Right.
basically, the whole point of the new players using those cards might disappoint them and might quit the
Make them
game,
quit. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Like
Yeah,
that, and
it's
that.
I
That's
think they're
why I
just gonna ban
understand.
it.
Yeah, they would just
I
ban
think
it.
they're just gonna ban it. Yeah.
I agree.
But
I
I
think that's what they would
mean,
do.
I'm not sure. The banning thing is also hard to dabble into because basically every time you ban, I mean, coming from me who actually quit Magic because my deck I
Ban.
mean, the key
Right.
cards of my decks were banned, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I know firsthand the feeling of playing a deck and then it's get banned. So money is wasted and of course morale will be super low.
Mm-hmm.
That people might just decide, especially in the West, that cards are way more expensive than the East because here in the East, if you ban a deck, unless it's a full rarity, full AA deck, you can
Mm-hmm.
easily pick up a deck for like $100 and then play with it,
Right.
and that's already a new competitive deck. So it's easier for us, and that's the funny thing that we were joking about when the ban list was released. We were like, bro, Western cards are super expensive and they just banned it. Meanwhile, here in the East, our cards is super cheap compared to them and we don't get any bans.
Right. And that's what's so crazy to me. I don't under like this
Yeah.
is me being salty and jealous, but it's just
Yeah.
like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
Maybe I
But
think it's more on the culture because we're not very vocal with our ideas or sentiments about the game. Like for
hmm,
example, Big Mom, we already know that Big Mom is a very
powerful
broken
card.
card,
Yeah,
Big Mom
yeah.
10, right? And but you won't see Japanese or Asian people tagging One Piece card game that hey ban this card or what. Uh, I mean, I do hope that it doesn't come across wrong, but we are more into adapting and to basically finding solutions
Right.
rather than clamoring into the public that you guys should ban this or ban that.
Yeah,
You
no.
even have we even have a joke that if you can't beat them, just join them. Like back in the Whitebeard days, if you can't beat Whitebeard, then just play Whitebeard.
Right, right.
I
You know
did
what?
play Whitebeard.
Yeah, so first and foremost, honestly, I find no offense in what you just said because I think that it's the truth. It's just a 100% culture thing. Here in the West, people love to complain, and it's also like a sense of like entitlement. It's like I'm not having fun, so because I'm not having fun, this should be changed
You should,
now,
yeah.
right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not even just for card games. That's just like in general in the West. It's just
Mm.
a culture that we have that unfortunately, in my opinion, it's terrible. But because of that, again, you have people that are whining about it. And then also, to your point, you mentioned that over in Asia, your guys' mentality is more so like whether if you can't beat them, join them or adapt and try to figure out how
True.
to beat
Yeah.
them. And that's very true because I also, before card games, I come from a world of fighting games. Like I'm really into
Mm.
Street Fighter,
Nice.
Marvel
Wow.
vs. Capcom, things of that nature. Although Street Fighter is the one that's more so extremely popular in Japan, Tekken, extremely
Yeah.
popular in Korea, and things of that nature. And if you look at the metagames over in Asia compared to the US for fighting games, in Asia, it's all about meta. It's all about what character is top tier, whatever is the
Yeah.
best. Everybody
And
plays
then
it
just gonna
because
practice it, right?
yes, because that gives you the best chance to win, and
Yes.
it allows the more people that are playing it. Now you can have people coming in together discussing the different tech, the different setups and stuff like that.
Mm.
Whereas over here in the West, people are just like, oh, I want to play what's fun. You know what I mean? Instead of playing what's meta, and then they want to complain about the strong characters because their fun characters aren't as strong as the meta characters, right? So it's
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's any game, any genre. I think that's just how it is. It's a culture thing. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I also remember that time because I also doesn't want to play Whitebeard, but we
Mm-hmm.
are being trashed by Whitebeard, and I did play Whitebeard for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I won, actually, it's a fun experience. I won with Whitebeard, and I didn't really like the gameplay of Red.
Mm-hmm.
After I won a flagship with a Whitebeard, I immediately unsleeved it.
Instantly
It's so
unsleeved.
funny.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's why when I went to the next tournament, people are expecting me to bring Whitebeard, and they were
Right.
like, "Where's your Whitebeard? You just won with it, so why are you not playing it?" It's not fun, but
Right.
I mean, it gets the job done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially because like that was one of the things that I would always preach on my channel. Because like I played, like I still played like for fun decks prior to OP-05. OP-05, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just playing red purple, sorry, not red purple. I'm just playing purple Luffy. If I was skilled enough, I would play Sakazuki, but unfortunately, I'm not as skilled.
You,
Um,
you just it takes practice. It just takes practice. But I mean, you just have to remember the combo lines.
yeah.
You'll get there, my friend. I trust you to get there.
I get that's true, but I feel like with purple Luffy, it's a lot less remembering.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, Purple Luffy is a straight up deck. You ramp,
Exactly.
you play the bigs, and
Yep.
then you play the bigs when during the time that your opponent can answer the bigs, and then you win the game.
Exactly, exactly. And so that's why for me, I'm going from playing decks. I was playing Crocodile before Crocodile was
Mhm.
decent. In
Mhm.
OP-04 is when Crocodile started getting more decent, right? But I was
Yes,
playing it
yes,
back in like OP-02 with like Impel Down Engine, and obviously it was a bad deck back then.
yeah,
I played OP-01 Odin, right? Like so, I played a lot of for fun decks. But ultimately. And then in OP-04, I switched to Queen, which is a good deck, but obviously not as
yeah.
strong as some of the like tier 1 decks. But I would say Queen
Actually,
was like 1.5, right?
Actually, you can play Queen now. I mean, in preparation for OP-06, I think Queen will be a top deck here in OP-06.
Wait, really interesting. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. So
Yeah,
why would you say that?
yeah.
What new introductions?
I mean, Sanji.
Yeah, true,
Sex
true.
Sanji. Sex Sanji is a broken... Because here's the play. You play Perona,
Yep. Yeah,
then
Perona,
you...
Doflamingo,
Yeah,
or the X Drake as well, right? To
no, you can
stack.
only play... Yeah, you can only play Perona because
Oh, you're talking about that
that's
turn
gonna
for
cost
10 Don.
10.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, I
for
see what you're
10
saying.
dot. You play Perona, you stack the card. For example, you have a Yamato there. You
Mm-hmm.
put it on top. You play Sex Sanji.
Mm-hmm.
You get Yamato. You play Yamato. Then you have two big bodies in the board now.
Mm-hmm.
You have healed one, and then you're good to go next turn.
Yeah.
So super super strong, I think.
Yeah, I think that plays really strong, and especially if you consider decks like Sakazuki, if you develop
Yeah.
two big 9-cost bodies, then odds are, unless they have double Ice Age, double Hound Blaze with like Great
Yeah.
Eruption, you know what I mean? Maybe a Loot, you know what I mean?
And
Like there's not enough Dawn to get rid
yeah,
of both of them.
you can also stack triggers now due to Hiyori and other cards that
Yes.
puts your life. So you can really that's like doing the Perona thing wherein you
Hmm.
stack your top of the deck, but this time you can also stack your life. So
Yes.
put your Veg there, put your Sanjis there.
Yeah.
So I think the only reason why people don't want to play Queen now is it's super slow.
The
So
time.
it takes a
Yeah.
lot of time. The time also
Yeah.
now that Japanese rules uh for the last 10 minutes change. There's no more last
Right.
10 minutes. There's no
Yes.
more extra turns. You both get double loss.
Loss. Yeah, and nobody
So
wants that. That's the worst feeling,
nobody
right?
wants it. So I think that's the reason why the slow control decks have died. It's more on the
Right.
rules change, but theoretically, hypothetically, the deck are good.
That that
You
that's a
just
good
lose to
point.
the intricacies of the game.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You know what, RJ? You've
Yeah.
definitely. I'm gonna put together an OP-06
Did I
Queen build
solve
after
you,
this.
Queen? Did I solve you, Queen? Now?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some cooking. I'm gonna do some cooking.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say before as well was I've always been an advocate, even though I wasn't playing the quote unquote best decks in the format. I was always an advocate for people that want to win. Just play the best deck, especially because like
True.
traveling for the game is quite expensive in the West, right? Because like, a lot of the times you're traveling from a different country. Like if I'm in Canada and I want to go to one of the in-person tournaments for
Yeah.
like the Treasure Cups, there's only one that's in our area. All the other ones are in the United States, which means
Wow.
I have to buy a ticket to fly to the
To
US.
fly,
I
yeah.
have to, pay accommodation, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm doing all of that, you best believe I'm playing the best deck in the format to get my best chance
True.
to win. I
I
don't want
mean, you
to,
should be.
yeah, I don't
You
want to
should
play
be.
Odin to, you know what I mean? After going through
Here,
all that travel.
here's my mentality about that. There are other tournaments that I can play the fun decks. I can do
Yes.
casual battle, I can do standard battle, I can
Yes.
do flagships. I can test my fun decks there, but when
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be preliminaries,
Mm-hmm.
we're in like thousands or like 6-digit cards
Yep.
are there. You best believe I'm gonna bring my the
Yeah.
best meta decks,
Of
right?
course. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
Yeah,
I hate when
true.
people go like, oh, meta slave and this. It's like, no, I'm playing to win because the prizing. You know
Yeah.
what I
I
mean?
mean, that's the point. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the point of the competition, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just think it just comes down to people that there's two groups of people, and this might sound harsh to those people. If you are watching, I do apologize, but I think it's the reality. There's two groups of people. There's those that don't have the skill, and so therefore they just want to complain and put down the other players that are playing those more difficult decks and tier 1 decks.
Yeah.
So rather than joining them, they have too much pride and they're like, oh no, like you're just a meta slave, right? There's those people, and then there's the other people that just don't value competition in the sense of like, whether it's one Piece trading card game, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh, whether it's
Yeah.
Magic, if it's sports, if it's basketball, if it's football, it doesn't matter, right? Competition is
Yeah.
competition, and so some people just aren't built for competition, right? Some people just don't
True.
like it.
I
And
agree.
so I feel
I
like
agree.
those are the two camps. There's some people that just really don't like competition, and there's those that are just haters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. True. I mean, I also don't understand the logic behind that. Like, I remember in the Facebook group where if somebody posts, oh, I won with Zoro, and they were like, oh, you won with Zoro. I was like, if everybody thinks that Zoro is so good, then
Right.
at some point you're gonna face a lot of Zoros,
Yep.
and that will now come down to skill because you are the
Correct.
better Zoro,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
yeah, you can argue that maybe he's just more lucky that he gets more, and I would counter that all card games have RNG factor in it.
Correct.
So it's not his fault that he's more lucky. So
Yeah.
right, like people
And like,
crashing against those people, but I just don't see the logic behind it.
and for me, in my opinion, like my opinion on luck is like I believe that luck is more so about putting yourself in that opportunity or having that or being prepared for
Yeah,
when an opportunity arises, right? Rather than, oh, it just
true,
randomly happens, right? So like again, that's part of the preparation. You piloting Zoro, it being the best deck in the format, that's you being prepared. Now you're in that
true.
situation to top and you're going up against some of the other top players, and then like you said, it comes down to skill, right? So it's not just because like you said, in any card game, it's luck, right? Like even just
Yeah,
from the deck building process, right? You can literally
true,
have all the best cards, have the picture perfect build. You shuffle your deck and you just completely brick when you draw. Like
true,
you can
true.
be a great player, but if you brick and the other person opens up the perfect
Yeah,
curve, has answers
I
to
have
absolutely everything, it is what it is, right?
I have a very good example of that just yesterday.
Hmm.
I'm in the finals of a tournament. I'm playing Sakazuki. I am up against RP Law, so the stack is against me, right? But
Right.
I know how to play against RP Law because I practiced that like thousands of times.
Right.
I have 9 cards in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Zero counter, literally.
Jeez.
Not even a Branu, not even a Tashigi Searcher for 1k counter.
Right.
Zero. And that's the factor. I
Yeah.
mean, would I blame the deck that right?
Yeah, you can't
Who
blame
would
the
you
leader
blame,
either, because
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
because that's exactly my point. Because
because
if
if
you
that
were in that situation and say you were playing a Vankov, for example, that doesn't give you a better chance to win. Like, but you had the better chance piloting the leader. It just so happened that
yeah,
you just bricked in that one situation,
yeah.
right? So
I I mean that's the point, right? Like even if I'm not facing RP low, even if I'm facing like a Shanks leader, I
yes,
would lose that
exactly,
game.
exactly, exactly. And so
So
why
it's
not
not
just play the best
yeah.
leader, right? Like
True. Right?
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Because some people disagree, and it's just like I don't know, but yeah. So I think that basically covers everything. I guess just to wrap up, obviously we talked about Luffy, purple Luffy
Yeah.
specifically, Enel,
Yeah.
Sakaluchi being the potential tier 0 deck of the format. What other decks do you
Yeah.
think people might play? We talked about Whitebeard. What are your thoughts on
Mhm.
Red Purple Law as well as Red Purple
Yeah.
Luffy? Do you think that those can contend as
Yeah.
well?
Actually, if you don't like playing Sakaluchi or like you're afraid it will be banned, you
Mm-hmm.
can of course play NL, P Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
You can also play Katakuri. I
Yes,
think
Katakuri,
Katakuri is an
yes.
underrated right now because it's overshadowed by NL. But if NL versus Katakuri, theoretically,
Katakuri
Katakuri is the
wins.
better one
Yeah, I lose every
because they
time.
have access to Big Mom.
Yeah,
They have access to Big
exactly.
Mom. That's the point. That's the key card in that matchup. So
Yep.
those are given. You mentioned the underrated leaders that I will also answer.
Mm-hmm.
RP Law, RP Luffy, which is coincidentally good counters for Sakaluchi. So
Right.
ST10 leaders got their edge now because one, it's fairly new release there,
Mm-hmm.
so people doesn't know how to play against them.
Right.
And with OP-05, RP Luffy will definitely gonna be buffed, especially you don't. I think Whitebeard will get unbanned in a few days, right?
No, 9 cost Whitebeard?
Am I right?
No, it's not.
Oh no.
Unfortunately. No, so it's only the 5 cost Marco that's getting unbanned, or
Oh,
unrestricted.
okay. Well,
And the
it's okay
Dedan. Yeah.
because you'll get access to Sun God Nika.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
also a key card for Whitebeard. But sorry, for RP Luffy, Whitebeard is just a better because you can also curve into Sun God
Right.
Nika after playing Whitebeard. So well you still have a single copy of it, so that's still okay.
Yeah, well, what
And
I've
I
been
believe
doing in my
RP Luffy
build...
won
Oh,
a
sorry, go ahead.
certain sorry, I believe RP Luffy won a certain big tournament
Mm-hmm.
just recently. I think it was the I'm not sure if it's regionals or the Treasure Cup of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat, I saw it on Twitter. So I think, and he won like three events back to back with RP Luffy.
Right.
Giovanni was. Sorry if I butchered the name. I'm very sorry. I'm not just familiar with the name, but I think it was like somewhat a Giovanni.
Mm.
Yeah, so he won with RP Luffy. I think three times back to back.
Yeah. So I
But yeah,
definitely think RP
actually
Luffy will be a threat.
RP Luffy and RP Law.
Yeah.
Actually, I should have. Actually, I was about to play RP Law when we were picking my deck for the 3v3. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that I don't have Gordon, so I didn't
Yeah, because
play
it's
RP Law
promo.
because Gordon is a key card for RP Law, and it's super expensive here before. Would run you like $20 each, so you have
Yeah.
to fetch around 100, almost $80 for a full set.
Yeah, I need to... I seen that you uploaded a RP Law video. I do want to check that out because I
Yeah,
have been playing some RP Law myself, and he is a ton of fun. And in my opinion, I feel like it's a deck that, again, it's not tier 0 or anything, but I feel like you can win against any deck with RP Law. What are your thoughts on it?
true, true. RP Law is very hard to play against
Hmm.
because what matters most in that deck is what you have in hand. Because if you break that, although you can return your opponent's character, but you don't have something impactful to play,
Mm-hmm.
you would also still lose.
Right.
So you mentioned that deck. That deck was super actually super good. It
Mm-hmm.
was created by my friend.
Mm-hmm.
That deck list was created by my friend. It's a deck good against Sakazuki.
Okay.
So we practice a lot with that, and it's funny that that deck won a third in our flagship.
Oh wow.
but the player playing that was not that active in One Piece. He is a Digimon and Vanguard player mainly.
Oh
So
wow.
he just joined that tournament.
Yeah.
He did practice for like 1 day and then ran away with it. And
Wow.
we were surprised. Like we are seeing, because you know when you're at the top table, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have this recorded matches,
Right.
and I kept seeing him there and was like, oh, he's in top table. Like, and funny thing is his name is third Barsaga, and he plays third. So we have this joke now that third is third, something like that. Using that RP long,
It's
it's
fate.
super
It's
fun.
fate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's his first deck as well.
Wow.
That's his
Impressive.
very first deck as well. So really good. He's a good player, as a good card game player. So even though he doesn't play One Piece mainly,
The
he do understand
fundamentals.
the mechanics of of the card game. So he knows how to build the deck and then counters it. So very good. Also, it took a lot of people by surprise. Where he
Right.
has a tech card there, the Sabo, was it 6 or 5? The Sabo,
It'd
not
be
the blocker, the red one.
six cost Sabo,
Yeah,
right? From
yeah, the
OP-05?
6 Gustavo. So a lot of people were surprised by that. And
Interesting.
then
So why does he opt to play that? Because I believe that's the one that KOs 4K or less, right?
yes. So what he does is that I think it combos well
Mm-hmm.
because uh because the weakness of RP Law is when there are multiple 6K powered characters on the field on the side
Right.
of your opponent, because you can't just do Otama to the leader or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So the idea is, if I can bottom it with my leader's ability, I'll just gonna KO you with Sabo. So if there's a 6K, you play Otama and then you play Sabo. So that's the idea behind it.
Ah, I see. Okay. So it
So
just
because
kind
a
of
lot
gives you
of
another way. Yeah.
yeah, because a lot of people are uh revolving the deck strategy around the leader's ability,
Mm-hmm.
but it just shows that there are other ways around it. There are other ways to
Yes.
approach the deck. So that's why I said that it's very good deck, because I mean me myself didn't thought about it, that because you will be very somewhat would say it's a very wasteful approach if you think about it, because you cannot play the card for free.
Mm-hmm.
But he approached it differently, that my goal is not to put a lot of attackers in the field. My goal is to control the board. So
Right.
that's the mind blowing idea when he explained it to
Revelation.
me. Like boom, like, oh, it's a different approach. It's not like I put up a lot of 5K attackers and then beat you into pressure.
Right. Because that's what I
You
that I'm
control
not
the
I'm not
board.
gonna lie. That's how I kind of played him. That's how I kind of played Law.
That's how I also thought about RP.
Yeah.
And then he came with that approach, and I'm like, so you see, this is the people that I play with. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I can bounce ideas. I really that's also, I think I posted it on Twitter. That's my best advice to new players,
Mm.
because I really believe you're gonna be as good as your just as good as your play group.
Right.
So if your play group are not that competitive, you won't be that eager to compete as well. I'm
Right.
just so lucky that my playgroup is super competitive, because the manager of the LGS that I'm playing with is
Mm-hmm.
the PH representative for One Piece card game. So
Oh.
so so we are so lucky to have him there pushing us, like he's hero, the one I always tag in my posts. So he's the PH representative for One Piece. So he's actually the one pushing us to be super competitive as well. Like he's bouncing ideas. He's open to practice. You just tell him, Hero, I want to try a new deck. Can you play with me? You're gonna sit there for hours playing. And yeah, I think, just sorry if I'm rambling, but I
No,
just want to
no,
share a
keep going. I
story.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, so sorry for yeah, but my when I was starting, uh I have this first deck that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh I was picking my deck. I don't know what to build because I'm a super new player. And then I came up with, I saw Ricky's deck. Ricky, the
Content
3v3
creator.
champion and 1v1. Yeah, the
Yes. Yeah.
content
Yeah. Yeah.
creator. So he came up with a Z deck,
Oh
and
yes. Yep.
I love the gameplay. So I copied it and then played it. So nobody's using Navy back then. It's all about Kid, Zoro,
Yes.
those old meta decks. So I came up with the idea of copying it and then putting some just a few cards here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just sure why I'm putting that. I just love those cards to put there. And then he was the one who helped me tweak the deck. And then he even let me borrow Kusan 10 set then so I can compete. And then
Oh, that's really nice
literally
because that was hard to get that back then too, because it's a secret rare. The
yeah,
products were really,
and
yeah,
it's super expensive as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we played for hours and then I never won a single game. I would say this is not an exaggeration, but I
Mm.
would say it's like 200 matches. We just keep testing, keep testing. For weeks, we were just playing, and then I never won a single game. Then the tournament, so I was somewhat disheartened that maybe I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is not for me, something like that. And then
Mm.
the tournament came. This is a tournament. This is the first ever tournament that I played in. Was
Yeah,
a qualifiers for a big tournament.
yeah.
There's no casual tournament, no standard.
Just
I would
jumped
say it's
straight
a
into
trial
that
by fire.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trial by fire. And then I placed top eight, and I
Whew.
would credit that to Hero because I thought that I'm not good enough, but
Right.
it's just that I'm playing with the best or
Mm.
one of the best. So
Right.
when I played there, I think I can still remember the tournament. I just made a small misplay in my first round, but I ended up 3-2. I only lost to the eventual champion and Hero, which
Mm.
is the top two. So
Right.
basically, they pulled me, and I managed to get to the top eight. And then during that's my first flagship, and I also made it into the top eight of that flagship because that's the qualifiers for the flagship. Because uh, the system here is very different. Wherein, for example, flagship is somewhat the treasure cup, so you
Mm-hmm.
have to play qualifiers of treasure cup before you can play into the treasure cup. So that's how we do it here. So I my first tournament was the qualifiers for that, and then I played the Treasure Cup and also managed to get top eight. So that gave me the confidence that oh maybe there's something there. I'm
Right.
just bad. I think I'm just hard on myself in the early days because I mean it's so disheartening losing like I really would say that's around 200 matches because we play 20 matches per day. Then that's our practice routine. We play 20 matches per day.
Mm-hmm.
He will use different decks. I'll use my deck so that he's teaching me to like this is what you're gonna do when you're facing these decks. And then it runs for weeks, like I would say almost a month of like 20 games per day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I never won a single game.
Jeez. Yeah, and I mean, shout outs to you for continuing to keep playing, right?
I mean, that I think that's the competitive. I
Yeah.
think that's the difference for. I'm not gonna boast my here and say that. I think it's really more on me wanting to compete because I'm a former professional player for certain video games
Mm-hmm.
before. I'm an esports athlete before, so the competition is just there. Due to my age, I was forced to retire, and then now I find a game that doesn't require. It's not as physically taxing.
Right.
Yeah, so I can play it regardless of my eyesight or yeah. So
Yeah, it's not physic. There's no type of physical
I
ailment
still
to
want to
hinder you.
compete. It's just on a
Yeah.
different game. I would
Right.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. No, thank you so much for that story. I really liked it. And again, you perfectly put how important it is to have that play group,
A play group. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that encouragement as well, because like you said, it was trial by fire, right? Your first tournament, and it's something at that scale, and you're able to get a top 8. That's absolutely amazing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah, I think a lot of people. are rushing things now.
Mm.
I see a lot of in my Facebook pages message me, DMs me that they want to be good in Sakazuki,
Mm.
and then I asked them how long are you playing Sakazuki? I'm only playing it for like 3 days. Bro, I was so trash when I played my first Sakazuki tournament. I I forgot to mention that, right? My first tournament with Sakazuki, I for 5 rounds I went 0-1. Sorry,
Ooh.
1-4, 1-4.
Oh, 1-4. Okay, so 5 matches. You went 1 win, 4 losses.
Yes, and that's with
Mm.
Sakazuki.
Right.
And then I keep playing, keep watching YouTubers
Mm-hmm.
play the deck. I actually I actually advise you guys to
Mm-hmm.
watch Japanese YouTubers.
Yeah.
It's not because they are good. I mean, they are good. That's a given. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not because of that, but because you won't understand them. Now,
Right.
you guys might say, "Oh, are you crazy? Why are we watching things that we don't understand?" It's because it pushes you to
To think.
understand it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yes.
pushes you to think, why are they doing that? Because you can't understand the explanation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you have to think, why is he playing that? Why did he choose that with this searcher? And it gives you that critical thinking that you would adopt in your own gameplay. Because if people are just explaining to you like, I want to play this because this will do this, you're basically watching them. You are
Yeah.
not learning that much. Maybe you learn a combo line here and there, or some tips and tricks here and there, but it won't make you think because they are explaining. That's why I also don't explain a lot of things on my videos. I would say, I'll play this, I'll play this, I'll play this,
Mm-hmm.
to give my viewers a chance to think, why is he playing that? Why is this why he chose that line of play rather than this line of play?
Right.
You will see some plays because you saw my cards, but I'm not giving out everything or handing it in a silver spoon, if you may, or feeding it to you guys, because I want
Right.
you guys to think. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you're watching my videos, if you you want to learn, or you want to be better at the
Right.
same deck that I'm playing, right? Even I think even in my Nami videos that you watch, I never fully explained everything my player. I just,
No, yeah,
I'll
that's
counter it
true.
with this
That's a
one.
good
I'll counter
point.
this down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And the more that you talk about that type of learning, it's more I can like agree with as well because, again, I just think about when I'm learning fighting games, for example, and again, if I'm watching some of the top Japanese players, if I'm watching Street Fighter and I'm watching Daigo and he's playing
Yeah.
and I'm like, obviously I don't understand what he's saying, but I see him do a certain combo of moves, a certain block string multiple times. And so I'm just thinking, I'm like, oh, like, why is he doing that? Then I'm going to go into training mode and start doing it and go like, oh, he does that because now it's a frame trap. So if they press a button, then I'll get a counter hit and I can do that. Whereas like, if not, if somebody was just doing it and just telling me, it'd be like, oh, okay. But like this, I'm
You're
forced to
just gonna
learn.
do it blindly, right?
Right. So you're not really learning at that point. So it's a
Yeah.
beautiful example that you just gave, and that's so true. That's such a good way to learn. And I do watch the Japanese gameplays, but I don't think I watched it in the lens of what you just said. And so I think I'm gonna start doing that.
Mm.
Because I think that,
Yeah.
like you said, it's very valuable.
Yeah, I for even for tournaments like the CS streams, I watch it on mute so
Hmm.
that I will be forced to like, what are you thinking? Why are you playing that? Of course, you
Right.
might overthink it yourself, that maybe they just made a misplay and you thought it was the best play, and you're thinking that that why did they do that?
Right.
I
Especially
mean, and
because you
then
could see both hands as well, right? So like it
yes,
kind of changes your
yes,
thinking.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I just took a look at the time. We've been
Yeah,
chatting
it's
for
okay.
almost an hour and a half. Thank you so much, RJ.
Yes, thank
This
you
was,
so much.
I had so much fun. This just, you know what this felt like to me, this felt like, you know, a friend that I just met up with and we're just talking about card games
Yeah.
all day. It's like, honestly, we're,
When you come here in the Philippines, let me know. So I'll
yeah,
show you my group.
for sure, man. And like, it's the beauty of card games. It's the beauty of One Piece as well, right? You know, One Piece is all about,
Yes.
you know, bringing people together and things like that. And I feel like this card game's truly done that. You know what I mean?
Yes. We are one big crew here.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So do you have any shout outs, anything you want to talk about, any upcoming projects going on your
Oh
channel or
yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah. Again, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the people who supported me
Mm-hmm.
in my One Piece journey. I really appreciate you guys. And uh, for my YouTube channel, there are some new videos
Mm-hmm.
because OP-06 was just released here, so I'll be dabbling on it. Of course, I'll keep the Sakazuki contents there. But hey, if you have requests, I'll be more than willing as well to try those decks for you. Maybe let's learn together. And yeah, for new projects, I think I just had a new sponsor. So thank
Nice.
you guys for Eris Toys Express for sponsoring the channel. And I'll be doing some unboxing and
Oh,
pack
nice.
openings because they just gave me some boxes to open. So
Oh,
yeah, thank you
exciting.
for the support. Yeah. I'm actually the series that I'm doing is actually opening one pack every day
Mm-hmm.
until we hit the Goda pack, the God pack. Yeah,
Oh,
people are calling it God pack. They missed the chance to call it the Goda pack. So
the Goro
I'm
pack.
putting it there. Yeah, so I'm putting it there. The
Nice,
Goda
nice.
pack.
Yeah, you should be careful before somebody else tries to steal it and say that they created the name first. Kind of like the Sakaluchi,
So that's
the
why I'm putting it
Sakazuki.
out there that I'm putting out there you guys missed the chance to call it Goda. So I'll be taking it and just gonna call it Goda.
There you go. There you go. So once again, thank you so much
Thank you so
for
much.
taking
Super
the
happy to
time.
be here.
Really appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this again sometime in the future. Who knows? Maybe
Sure.
when OPO6 is close to being released here, we
Yeah,
could do this again for
we
the
can.
next set.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to go back here. Super thankful.
Awesome.
Super thankful.
All right, appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right.
everybody that has
Thank
been
you.
watching. Make sure that you guys check out his channel. Links will be in the description down below. Also check out his Twitter. All of those things will be down in the description as well. And with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed and we will catch you guys later. Peace.
Bye bye.